Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks everyone for coming to our webinar. Um, Again, feel free to ask any questions, and we're going to go through the entire process from the beginning. Um, we have sent a few emails in order to be able to install the application. The application is not in the Apple Store or the Google Play, but there is a link that allow you to very easily install the application. It's important to know that as you install the application, everything works within that specific application. It's better than running in your browser if you're using your mobile phone or your tablet. But it's also possible for you to use on your home computer or your notebook. You just access normally through the URL, and I will explain how to do that.
Yeah.
Let me quickly remove all of my messages here so that we pay attention on the webinar.
Yeah.
So in here, what I'm going to show initially is how we install it. In here, we have an actual set of videos, and these videos will explain precisely how you can install it either on iOS or Android. Very simple procedure. We can watch it at any time, and as we access, we'll be able to see this video specifically inside the actual application. So you'll be able to follow very easily how to install the application. Any questions on how to install the application? Anyone that went through with installing the application has any question?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
um, The whole thing installing the application is to be able to use it in your mobile phone, but you can also access through the web. In order to access to the web, it's very simple. You just again type mindware.io. That's how you need to do an actual.
Can we see that, Augusta, on the screen? No.
Oh, I will share here my screen.
Yeah,
I
because we're not
apologize.
seeing it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me actually open a different browser here because I am with everything open. So I will use Firefox to open it. It can be used Chrome, Firefox, Bravo, Opera. All of those are compatible with our system. So you just type minder.io. And as you type minder.io, okay, let me log out here. I was already
Come in.
logged in.
I come in. You might as well join the. You might as well join the seminar now, but you won't have to. I don't. You won't be able to hear it now, can you? Can you log in your phone? I thought you were registering for it. No. Um. You are registered. Log in your phone there because otherwise you won't be able to hear it.
Okay. Um, Excellent. I mean,
And that's started now. Yeah.
hey, is
That's
everyone
Augusta there.
hearing fine?
I can hear fine anyway, Augusta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So in here, as you click on
Good to hell that she knows how to do it.
minder.io,
All right. Okay.
you can log in just like you would normally log on your machine or your mobile application. It will be the same thing. Just that you're going to have a better a bigger view instead of working on your mobile phone. So if we log in here, for example, I'm going to use director.mcc. It's one of our users for demonstration, and it already opens immediately in here, so we can see everything that director MCC will be using. So we're going to go through this entire process together, and we'll be able to understand in all shapes and forms how to use the application and be able to actually allow you guys to ask any questions so that we're able to answer them and make it easy for you to do the travel subsistence. Okay? Any questions on how to install the application?
No.
Okay,
No.
excellent.
No.
If you have any problem in terms of trying to run, asking you to too many passwords to get in, contact me over support. I will guide you how to clean some information on your system in order to make it run properly. I went through that with Patrick. We're together. I was able to explain and was able to clean everything. Sometimes it happens if you're using on your browser and the application at the same time. So, what I would suggest is on your mobile phone, always use as an application.
Sa-
On your web, you can
Helen,
use
Helen, Helen.
on the web normally, no problem. Okay? Excellent. I'm going to go in here and actually log in as a brand new user. I have just registered employee2.mcc. Okay, I think I misspelled here, but
Yeah.
let me go with employee. Just 1 second. I was typing wrong the password.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me try to log here on employee2.mcc. Okay, we just logged
Yeah.
in. The very first screen you see is the actual acceptance of the term of an agreement of the platform. That's very important because we're obeying the GDPR full process, and this is an obligation from the European Union. So you just have to come here, click on the acceptance, and click on proceed. That's how. Okay. Okay. So it just did not go through here. I apologize for that. Okay. Like any presentation online, we'll have some issues, but we'll fix them as time goes out. Um, Let me log in here with our application with the employee two, and we're gonna go through the settings. Let's go through each one of the portions of the items in the settings page. We have first your company name. The company name is very important because that's what the company name that will go into the revenue report. So it's imperative that we put the proper name, the legal name that your company has with revenue. Here we have the employee payee number. So in here you have the your whole
Employer, actually, Master.
payee number. Well, Chris can explain much better than I can.
The employer POE number. So that's what it
Um,
is.
so
Yeah.
we put here everything that we need on that. Right now, we support travel and subsistence. Travel and subsistence. Um, um, in the near future, we'll be accessing country money and other areas of the ERR for the revenue. Next one is if you have your private vehicle for business travel with your employer. This is very important. If you are driving your employer's vehicle, you're not entitled to mileage. But if you're driving your personal vehicle, you are entitled to mileage. Okay?
Yeah.
EPS number. The employee number is the number that you have on your payslip. Um, each accountant might have a different system, but I think Chris,
Yeah, it's either one or two, Augusto. I think it's one or two. Helen was saying there today, so we'll have that for everybody anyway. Like, I think it's just the payroll number that's used on the system. So it generally starts at one and then it goes to two if a fella starts again later in the year or leaves and comes back. So generally it will be one, but we can tell them from here, or any accountant can tell anybody what their employee number is.
yes,
Okay,
and it should be in the payslip.
should be in the payslip. Yeah,
So you have your payslip for employees. You have the actual number that needs to be here. This is very important because this is the number that goes to the revenue. So it's not just any number. It has to be a number that does truly represent on the system your employee. First thing
yeah.
we put here is your home address. The home address is important because there are regulations with the revenue that will require us to measure distance from either your work base or your home. Whichever is closer is what the revenue expects in terms of calculating distance, so it applies or not subsistence. So it's important that we have the correct number. I would suggest to put a full address with your code so that it's easier for the system to find precisely where it is. We have three possible categories on your settings. We have employer's base, we have work from home, and multiple places of work. Let's understand each one of them. Employer base, which is the most common one that we're all going to use, means that you have your home, but you also have a place of work specifically. So that place of work is where you come from your home to the work base, and that's the address we define right here. So in here we have the address is 8 Woodbrook Place. The address for this user is the 8 Woodbrook Road. So they are two different addresses. It's important to be two different addresses because the revenue will immediately catch that you're working on the same place if we have the same address. The revenue will understand that you're working from home or if you're working with multiple places of work. So it's important that you actually define the precise different address from the home address to your employer's base full address. If you select work from home, it's important to understand, and you can check with Chris on a private call if you are actually able to use work from home. Work from home is for those cases that you actually work from home. For example, we have cases of a developer like myself that I work from home and I actually do remote work developing. And I visit my clients once in a while. So once I visit my clients once in a while, traveling subsistence is applied to me because I work from home. But you actually have to work from home. If you do your work on a different place, for example, I paint or I'm a painter, or I am a constructor. You do not construct on your home, therefore, you don't work at home. That difference is very important, subtle, but revenue will catch quite easily if you do not work from home or if you work from home. In the case of employer's base, we will check and we go through most of the examples on employer's base. We'll check and understand what counts with travel and subsistence on all the possible cases. Now you also have the possibility of multiple places of work. Multiple places of work means that I do not work from home, but I work from, I'm a constructor. So I do construction in many different places of work. So I leave from home, I go to a different workplace, but I can also visit other clients while I'm doing construction on some place. For example, I paint houses. So if I paint houses, but I'm painting this specific house for 2 months because it's a big house. So that is my main place of work. If I go to this place, subsistence will not count, neither travel. But if I go from this place and I go do, for example, a client supervision with my crew on a different place, that will count for subsistence and mileage. Okay?
Sorry,
So,
just mileage on that one, Augusta, actually.
yes.
Well, sorry, it's just mileage on multiple places of work. No subsistence, just mileage, because
Okay.
you have no normal place of work. Unless, or, well, sorry, actually, as you said, if you spend 2 months there, you actually have a normal place of work. It's kind of subtle, like, you know. But I'll talk to the people about that.
It's a subtle thing. It doesn't count subsistence if you're going to that common place. If you're going to another place, then it counts subsistence because you're moving from your work base to another place.
But just to interject there, Augusto, in multiple places of work, and a lot of the construction people, director might have 5 or 6 sites where the work has been done. So he will get mileage when he lands in place. When he goes to the first site, he gets no mileage. He gets mileage after that. He travels around to the other 4 or 5 sites and back to and fro, supervising people all day. He'll build up a nice mileage uh,
Yes,
thing, but he will not get subsistence
correct.
because he doesn't have an employer base. If he has a base where he goes to every morning, let's say the bigger construction firms would have a base, they'd report to the base every day. They would then go from that base to different places. They would have a normal place of work if they're a director because the book work, etc., will be at that base. They will get subsistence. So it's just a technical thing, but the it doesn't affect what you're saying here because this is the app. We can walk through it, like, you know. In other words, the app does it right. So we just it's just a technical thing that I'm
Exactly.
just saying here, right?
The
Okay.
app will do everything for you, but we
In accordance, yeah, with the way
explain
you put it.
all the subtleties. And thanks for correcting me on that one, Chris.
Yeah,
Um,
no bother, Augusta.
and it's very important to understand these subtleties because it will make your life easier as things go by. But the
Well,
system
it will mainly
tells
be
you
for us
everything.
as accountants, Augusto, to do that. Like, and the app caters for everything, depending on what they click. Us, as accountants, will have to guide our clients on multiple places work, employer base, home base, etc. So happy enough there, like, you know.
Excellent.
Okay.
And then we have the last item, which is the open balance KM. The open balance KM is the number of kilometers you have already driven this year. It's important to understand this year specifically. So if I'm starting from now, June, and I have already reported 5,000 miles, 5,000 kilometers. We put the 5,000 kilometers here. It's important because all of the regulations of the revenue make it cumulative. So you have different values that applies to you as you actually drive longer in terms of mileage. All the tables, all of the things are already calculated by the application, but you just need to add this open balance. What we suggest is that we start from the beginning of the year. And starting from the beginning of the year means that the open balance will be zero, and your first day of work will be the 1st of January. Anything to add on that, Chris? Because I think it's
No,
very
I
important.
think it's better to start in January, start with zero balance and drive on because the regulations came in really since January anyway, and you're better off running the calendar year, I think. So I would go with the zero balance. But if you're doing mileage already and you've already sent it in, then you've got to start with whatever mileage you have to date from your spreadsheets if you've done it by spreadsheets, So I'm happy enough, Augusta, there.
Excellent. Any questions on the settings? Okay. At any time you see this little button here, you can access what we call the quick links, and we can edit locations, we can edit reasons. And we're going to see how to do that while also doing the report. Let's go to Travel and Subsistence report. Okay, I have already started in this case, and I'm going to add my first trip. So if we click on the add the first trip, the very first thing is going to work base. I selected on my settings that I am employer's base. Therefore, I'm always on the first trip going from home to employer's base. And you cannot change that. You see that you cannot change because it's not possible to change your first trip. You always go from home to your employer's base. That's very important because the revenue wants to see your daily trips and your daily mileage, meaning that you always start from home and you finish at home. Okay? So in here, it's suggesting the current time, but I will change here, for example, 8 a.m. And I arrived at work 08:10. If we have a little bit of doubt how far it is, how long it takes, we have a suggestion here on the map where it tells you precisely where you should be going. Since this is very close to each other, I'm trying to move here on my app, but it's not doing it because I am not using. Um, um,
You don't have to say address.
I almost have the same very close address, so it's not going to give me that much going from one place to the other. But say that I went from one place to the other very quickly. Important to say that travel and subsistence are not allowed once you go from home to work base. The system will always tell you when it's allowed and when it's not allowed. So it makes it very easy for you to do what you actually need to do every time that you need to add a trip. So we added a trip. Right now, nothing is registered. If we go down, we see that we are on Thursday, on the 4th of January 2024. It tells you precisely, just like when you have on your chat systems like WhatsApp or your Messenger. It tells you the date precisely when everything happened on that specific day. At any time, we can edit the last trip. In this case, if we just want to change the times, we're not going to do it right now, or you can delete the last trip. Let's add the next trip. So the next trip now will ask you for more things. For example, the very first thing we'll ask you is the reason of your trip, because you're leaving from your work base to do something. For example, could be a client meeting, sales meeting, collecting goods, whatever fits your purpose. If none of the suggested items are okay with you, you can come here and edit the reasons. You can delete the reasons you don't want. You can change the name of the reasons you don't that are already created, or you can create a new reason. It's up to you. For example, client checkup, something that is very specific. As soon as I add client checkup, as we go back, you see that we have client checkup right here. So it automatically selects for you the whole process. So you don't have to, as you create reason, select it again. Or you can again select any other reason that you want.
And you must have a reason, Augusto, for revenue to require a reason for every trip. So
Exactly.
everybody has to have a reason, and that's in the app,
Now we have the two. In this case here we have, for example, Blarney and Post or back to employer's base. So let's add a new location here. To add a new location is very simple. You just click on the address, you type the actual address. For example, and Post Mallow. So it finds you and Post Mallow. It gives you in the map where it is, so you can see precisely where it is, and you can select this address. Important. You might not find something. For example, you're in construction. You might be building a new house somewhere that does not have that specific address. So in this case, you can pick the closest possible address to your address, and that will be okay. There's no problems with it. Correct, Chris?
Yeah, once you're close, yeah, once it's close. If there is no air code, there is no air code. Get the closest one to it,
So we click on select, we see the name on the full address, and then we can put here, for example, Mallow. This is a very short name that will allow you to identify very quickly this specific client. You can have as many clients as you want, you can create as many as you need. The system will take care of all of them at any time. So we can add a new place. As soon as we added this new place, immediately shows right here. So we can either select or create a new one. Important to know that once you already have it, you don't need to create it again. You just select and you can move forward. Okay? Now we have A10. And if I have any doubts in here, we can go again. In this case, since the distance is a little bit bigger than my home base, my home to work base, we can see in the map that it takes 47 minutes, 39 kilometers. It's an approximation of Google Maps. Could be different routes, different situations. But there are a few caveats here that is very important that we need to understand. In many cases, you'll be working within a specific distance from your home base or your work base that has to be 8 kilometers away in order to count subsistence. Anything below 8 kilometers does not count as subsistence. But it's important to know that it is within. Within means the radius itself from point A to point B. That's very important because in very few cases, you might be going from Google Maps, for example, 8.5 kilometers because the road is a little bit tortuous and everything. We know Irish roads, they go all around. So Google Maps might take a little bit longer. For revenue, revenue doesn't care about Google Maps. It's about the actual distance from point A to point B on a radius. That's called in the regulation, it says within 8 kilometers. In those special cases, we need to understand how to add the address so that allows you to get the subsistence in a proper way. Okay? But if it's not below if it's not on a rate of 8 kilometers, it will not count as subsistence, even if it takes you longer to go using a road. Okay? Any questions on that? This is very important because in a lot of times you will be working on a very close range for subsistence. Anything to add on that, Chris? That's a very
No,
important
I mean,
part.
look, if you're 8 kilometers away, you get the subsistence. If you're not, you don't. So ideally, you're more than eight. If you're not more than eight, you lose out on the 17 euros odd and the 42 euros odd, depending on the 5 or 10 hours. But I mean, if you can get it, good. If you can't, you at least the app will tell you whether you're entitled to it or not. So I would suggest that look, you just have to go away wherever you're working and hope that you're 8 kilometers away. The app will automatically calculate it, and it will automatically calculate the subsistence. If you're more than 5 hours away, you've got to be more than 5 hours away, and that's just tax law or tax guide revenue guidance. You can't do anything about it, But the app caters for it, and you will know whether you're getting subsistence or not when you put in your journey on the app.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
excellent. So in here, we started at 8:10, and for example, we arrived there at 9:10. We took an hour. There is no problem to take longer than this actual value here. It says 48 minutes. I can take an hour. I can go slower. I can stop for any reason. This time is up to you as long as it fits properly what it actually is. If you go too much different from this value, revenue will catch. And probably you end up having to give the report of why you put that time there. Okay? So in here, we have the subsistence where time traveling to, we know that it started from 8:10 to 9:10. So it automatically calculates for you for 1 hour. And also it calculates the total. But you have to say how long you stayed in that client specifically in order to count subsistence. Say, for example, I spent 6 hours in my client right there. So it automatically calculates for you that you are getting 7 hours of subsistence. Okay? And you click on add. Immediately the system tells you that 7 hours you have 1792 of subsistence. And in this case, since it's not my personal car, it does not count total mileage. So in this case, I'm not getting mileage because it is company car. Okay? Any questions on that? At any time, if you are 100 kilometers away, you can spend an overnight. As many overnight as you need and you actually have spent. In this case, I'm going to add another trip back to my home base. So I was in my client checkup. I'm going from Mallow to my employer's base, and I'm arriving there at 1600 hours. In this case, the system tells me that in location is not allowed because you're coming back from the place that you worked. We already added that we stayed there for 6 hours. Therefore, we cannot, the system does not allow you to give the actual time that you spent again in that location. But you will get subsistence on your way back. And that's important. You get the mileage if it's applied to you, and you also get this time of subsistence. That's why we were able to add here and we show traveling to and the total time of subsistence. Any questions? Okay. So we added the trip. We can see the entire history of all trips. Important to know that because all of the calculations are based on the previous value, mainly for mileage, it's not allowed for you to delete or edit the previous trips. In order to add or edit the previous trip, you have to delete the latest one until you find the one you need to fix. Okay? Now that I work for 7 hours and 50 minutes, I'm entitled to 1792 at this day. I can come here and say that I'm finished my work day and I can go back home. Before going back home, it's important to state one fact that is very important for revenue. If you go into multiple places on that day, but you still do not sum more than 10 hours of work, you sum 5 to 10 hours, you can just use one of the places. You do not need to put the other places you visited. But if it sums more than 10 hours, then you get the next range of subsistence, which is above 10 hours of work. Revenue will not ask you to have all your trips in the day if it's not more than 10 hours. Okay? Chris, anything to add on that?
Well, I'd be more inclined to put the trips down where possible, like, because as long as you don't return to your home base, you can add trip and trip and trip. So the ideal, like most people are not going to travel that many trips in a day, except the people on multiple places of work, which would be the people claiming mileage, and they need the trips anyway, multiple trips in a day in order to build up their mileage, because that's what they're getting. They're using a private car. Whereas if your normal place of work, let's say, is Bishopstown and you're going to Mallow, more than likely that's where you're going and you're going to be staying there, right? But if you're going on to somewhere else, I would be inclined to butter on. It doesn't take very long to do it. I would butter on regardless, like, because I think it would be better. I don't think the revenue would have a problem, as you say, Augusto, but I would butter on,
Okay,
right? I
excellent.
would I would butter on, like, yeah.
So in this case, I selected to go back home. So we started with a trip from home to our work base. We did a trip from work base to Mallow. We came back to our work base and now we're going back home. This is very important because the revenue wants you to close your day of work. So closing your day of work means you always go back home. So in this case, the reason is going back home. You cannot change neither the from nor to. And you tell me what time you went back home. We don't need to know neither the revenue when you arrived your home, but we do need to know when you left home. So say that we left at 700 hours. It will not count neither mileage nor subsistence in this case. So we just add and it naturally change the date. So you see now that we went from the 4th to the 5th. Okay? Say that it is a Friday. We do not work neither Saturday nor Sunday. So we can click on no travel. No travel will tell precisely that you did not work on that day. It doesn't mean that can only be on Saturday or Sunday. You might not travel or do anything, for example, on a Tuesday, or your trips are always on Wednesday and Fridays. That's fine. The rest of the days, you can add a no travel so that the revenue knows precisely every day what's going on and allows you to be very precise on the report. Okay? So let's not work on Sunday either. And now we can add another trip for the Monday. So we see that we have Friday, Saturday, we are on Sunday, and then we're going to start a new trip. When we start a new trip, we see that we have going to work. Again, you cannot change from, you cannot change to, because we're going from work from home to work. Say that we start at 10, we're gonna arrive at 8:15. It's really fast. We work. My work base is close to where I work, to where is my home, and you see that we started a new day. Now that we come here, we're gonna add a new trip on the 7th. So, for example, we're gonna do goods delivery, employer's base. For example, we're going to Blarney. We can check how long it takes, 24 minutes, 10 kilometers to go to Blarney. So we arrive there at 9. We stay there for 3 hours, and then we went back. So in here, we are getting the information from and to, the mileage, everything we need. We adding the second trip in here. For example, we're doing goods delivery, but also we can go, for example, now to Mallow. There is no problem. So in here, we start at 12. We can check how long it takes, another 30, 40 minutes. So we arrive there at 1300 hours. Spent there another 4 hours. Let's say we stayed longer, 7 hours there. Okay. Now we see that we already worked 11 hours and 45 minutes this day. We went to the other bracket of information, which is 42.99 for subsistence. In here now, we can say that we're going back to our employer's base. We are going to arrive 21:30. In location is not possible because we're going back. We add, and here we have the last trip of the day, and now we can go back home. Now I can click on back home at 21:40 and done for the day. I'm back again to 8:01. So it's telling you precisely every day what's going on, what you're doing, everything that you're doing every single day, when you work, when you don't work. At any time, you can come here and click on download. As you download, you're going to see the actual report. This is what the revenue will see. If you have any questions, this
Only,
report is
only in the
full.
event of a compliance check, Augusto, right? So the revenue won't see it unless they
Exactly.
ask for it, yeah. Unless they ask for it. Otherwise, they don't see it.
Exactly. Correct. Correct. So this is the main report that will be your proof of everything. So it's extremely detailed. If they ever ask, they're probably going to get a 500-page report, everything contained of all your trips, everything you have done. Okay?
Now, one thing, if you don't have this and you claim mileage, and which a lot of people are doing, I know from other accountants are just putting it in, is that the revenue will ask for the sheets. If you can't produce them, they'll disallow the mileage. So for every euro that you've claimed in mileage, there you can add a euro to the revenue for when they take the mileage back off you. So the idea of this is that if the revenue have a compliance check, you have the reports available in real time. Just throw down in front of the revenue official. It's all in accordance with the radius, etc., so that you have proof of your travel. Most people who do that on spreadsheets, from my experience anyway, always make mistakes because the mileage rate changes, various things changes. It's extremely difficult to do it on spreadsheets. This eliminates all that effectively. So
Okay.
yeah,
Excellent. At any time, you don't need to do this in one day. You can leave. You can log out. You can come back. Your information will be here. And that's very important. So if we come here, logged out, we see that we logged off, we came back, here's all the information again. So it's important because you don't need to do this in one sit down. You can do it every day. I know it's going to be slightly more difficult doing uh, this last few months, but as soon as you catch up, it's going to be a daily thing that you can do very easily, very
Or
straightforward.
you could do it on a weekend, Augusta, if you want to do your bookwork at the weekend or do it on a Friday. As
Exactly.
long as you know where you were, you can just do the reports very quickly through it at the end of the week. Depending, probably every day is probably better, as you say, like you know.
Yep. So you can choose what fits best. The important thing is that you don't need to do all at once. Suggestion is, correct if I'm wrong here, Chris, that you close a month's worth of
Yeah,
work.
close off a month. The report really should go monthly to the revenue. So we need to close off a report at the end of the month. So I'd say the easiest thing to do that there, Augusta, if you click no travel till the end of the month there, and we'll just we'll close off a report very quickly. So monthly, the revenue would expect the report to go in at least once a month. And it's only then that you should get your payment. So let's say there's 500 quid there at the end of the month. You send the report to the revenue. The report will come to us via the portal. We'll send it into revenue and you pay yourself then and you close it off. That month is closed off.
Okay,
The revenue know what you got. We have paperwork to back it up. Effectively, that's what it is at, like, you know.
excellent. As soon as you have your report done, you can click on this button, send report and sign off. As you click, there's a big message that allows you to understand that as soon as you click on confirm, you cannot change it anymore. It means that you have sent. You can cancel at any time. You can download and check as soon as you're comfortable and you understand that that's what, in fact, what it means, we can send this report. I will send the report even though I'm not at the end of the month, so we can give you an example.
Yeah.
But I'm going to send the report. As soon as it's sent the report, you see that your screen is empty again. It means that you can start another trip. If I start another trip, we see that, for example, and we arrive at 8:10, we are on the 7th. That's where we left off. Okay? So your next trip will be on the 8th. Okay? So
Yeah.
we have in here all of the reports. You can check now that you sent this report, you can go to history. In the history, we have the report we just sent. In this case, I already had sent another report here, but we see precisely the status of this report. So the report is sent for approval and the value of the report. What is the number of overnight, subsistence, mileage, everything that you need to know about this report. You can download the report at any time, or you can also download the revenue report. All of the paid reports will be in the revenue report, which is a collection of all of your reports for that year. Okay?
That's only going to show payment now, Augusta. Obviously, what you told the revenue you're going to pay, like, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the point of the matter is that, of course, you only will do that if revenue asks. But it's very important. If you're asked, now you're safe because it's all of the details of everything that, in fact, allows you to tell the revenue precisely what happened with you. Okay? In here, we have a report sent for approval. This is a very important status. In this case, I'm an employee. So we need to have a director to approve. If you're a director, then the director can approve another director. But in fact, we need to always approve a report by a director. The employee does not have the right to approve that report specifically. So, what are we going to do? We're going to log out. We're going to log as the director. As we log in as a director, I'm a director, I have my own report. But if I go to my tasks, available tasks, we see that we have one available task for you to approve. So in here, we'll have all the tasks you have to approve. You claim the task. As you claim the task, you're going to see a very important report in here. So we have the balance brought forward of the last report. This period maximum based on civil rights service,
Civil
civil
service.
service rates. That is the total of that report, 6091. The amount to write off where company is paying less than the maximum civil rates. That's a little bit off in here, which
It
means
works. It works actually if it goes to what an employer has is a load of employees out driving the vans all day, and they it might come up here a couple of hundred quid here, and the employer says no, I'm going to pay them 200 instead. They're not going to get the maximum. You just write it off there.
exactly.
Generally speaking, the directors will claim it in full because they'll want their maximum rate, but they may not want to pay the maximum rate to the employees because that's based on the maximum allowable, which is civil service. And you have your like if you're paying an employee 500 quid a week and you want to give him 100 quid mileage for driving his van here and there or subsistence depending, and he comes along here and it's up at 300, you say fuck it, I'm not giving him 300, no, I'm going to give him 100, which is brings him to 600, like, but he must have enough mileage done, and you decide on how much you write off. Now you don't have to write it off immediately, you could leave it there because maybe the employee might not do as much mileage later in the year, and you might want to keep some of it there. But I mean, it's within the director's control what to write off and what not to write off, effectively.
Okay.
Okay.
In this case, let's say we pay in full. So you just type zero. So in here, we have 6091, and you have to tell us how much you're actually paying, meaning that you can pay less, but that balance will be brought for next month, for the next month balance. So this value is not going to be zero. It's going to be the difference. Director's case, of course, you always add in full 6091, and you have a zero at the end. Okay? Any questions on that? That's a very important screen for the directors. Directors will have to approve this for every employee and every director.
It also works very well, Augusta, where you pay the employee say €50 there, and you've got a carry forward coming forward, So it's at the director's option when he decides that the employee. It's at the director's discretion to decide how much the employee is going to get as up to the maximum of the civil service rate. So if you type 50 in there now, you're going to be left with 1091. That will carry forward, but it can be written off next month, or it can be written off at any time during the year, or it can be paid in full anytime during the year. It's at the director's discretion at all times, Now, most of the directors themselves will probably want the maximum, so they'll pay themselves the maximum. But an employee might come out, an employee might be on 500 quid a week, he's driving a van, and all of a sudden he's another 500 here, that's 1,000. You can't afford to pay an employee 1,000 quid because that's based on the maximum rates. You would just pay what you want,
The other point is that it's important that every choice you have here, everything will be registered for revenue. So if there's anything, we have the full history of how much you've written off, what is your balance, everything. So it's bulletproof for you to understand everything that happened during that year and allows you to have a much better control. Okay?
Yeah.
Here we have the approve. As we click on OK, we can cancel if we want to change, or we can click on approve. If we click on approve, now it will be sent to the accountant. In this case, Chris. It will be sent to the accountant to report this value to the revenue. Okay? So we clicked on send, and now the accountant will receive that task to send to the revenue. At any time, you can come to the history and you can select as director which employee you want to know. So in here, for example, we can go to the employee information and you see the report right here, report ready to send to revenue 6091. So we know precisely where it is, when it arrived, everything is all here on a big report. Okay? Any questions so far, all the way to the director's approval? Okay, excellent. Let's log out and actually log as the accountant. Okay,
What's that?
we just logged in as the
How do you
accountant.
add what
The
add what?
accountant will
Oh yeah,
actually have
yeah.
all information directly on their screen. They don't have anything else to do other than seeing the history or taking care of tasks. So we have that specific report that we just created, and the accountant will claim this report as it arrives. And this is informational. And that's very important because it tells precisely the accountant how to report to the revenue. We understand how much mileage and subsistence, because those values are reported separately inside the revenue system. So as soon as the accountant reports to the revenue, it will click here, report submitted to revenue. Again, you can cancel at any time. And then when you're ready, you can just click on OK. As you click on OK, it's going to go back to the director because the director now has to pay the employee or to pay the director himself or herself. So if we come here as the accountant will have their information for other customers. So we have in here, for example, we're doing the company test. We have the employee, and here it is, report paid, and we have reports sent to revenue. So we have all of the reports right here. And the accountant also will have the possibility of downloading the revenue report if ever needed. Okay? So
Yeah.
your information is completely secure and ready for the accountant and for yourself. That will bring peace of mind in terms of having all the information secured in one place. Let's log out now and log in as a director. As we log in as a director, we go directly to our report, but we can check if we have new tasks. And here we are. We have available tasks. Remember, approve report 30? Here it is. Now it's time to pay. As you claim the task, you're actually going to tell the system, I have paid this value to my employee or to myself. As I have that, I report as paid. Click in OK, and the cycle has ended. If we go to history, we can come in here, and there we go, report paid. So we see the entire process, when it happened, how it happened. We can download the report for revenue. We see here the first report was 1792. We have the second report from the 4th to the 7th. It was 1691. We have all of the information when the director approved, when it was sent to revenue, when the employee pay, when the employee was paid, everything right here. And the revenue will have full information in a way that gives you safety and it gives you information to prove precisely what happened during your reports. That's the whole cycle so that you can start now again a different report and move forward to the moment where you do it every weekly, every day, as it's easier for you, and you're able to send report every month. Any questions?
There's just one thing there, Augusto. There's a client here in the office. He's got a company van, which he'll be claiming subsistence, and he's got a private vehicle. So I just need to explain that he needs to go on as a two users, one where he uses the private vehicle and one where he uses the company van. So he's actually two users on the same system, one for subsistence and one for mileage. Now, the same guy who's in the office here has just asked me, how does he run the private vehicle? He missed the start. So if you just run back to settings there for a second, just to show that, like, you know.
Mhm.
So it's quite simple, but I mean, he least he's watching there as well. So
In this case here, private vehicle. Do you use your private vehicle? You say no.
sorry, you say yes. Sorry. Do you use your private vehicle? Yeah, you say yes there. Sorry. Yes, you are using your private vehicle for the work for the
Yes.
employer. Say that again.
Yes. In this
Yeah,
case,
two.
yes.
Yeah, sorry. There's two vehicles in this case, Augusto. Sorry. One is yes. One you are using the vehicle, which will be a reg of a van. You are using it, and the second would be the private car, where you are using it for the business. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up here now. To use a private vehicle, so it's yes for the car and no for the van.
Exactly.
Also, you need to put in a second user. You can be two users. You can be a user for mileage and you can be a user for subsistence. So in effect, you're two people you're one person who has two different reports for revenue. One revenue is going to go on mileage, the other revenue which is on private car, and one is on subsistence, which is the van. Have
There's no problem to
I'm answering the
repeat.
question there for Helen actually. She has a client to cyber. Um so it's under settings. So how do he just adds a new user here, Augusta, really is that. So
Yeah.
how Helen's asking how do do the new user then, like, you know?
We have a form that you can click in, the form that you register for. You can just click on that form and we'll register that user for you.
Yeah, so it'll be the same name, same PBS number, one for mileage, one for subsistence.
The
Two different
only
vehicles.
difference is a little trick that we use. It will be your email plus a number. For example, I will, let's go here. So we have, for example, my email, okay? If I can type.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the email where I am driving the van, okay? So it means no. We can create, and we'll create a new user. There will be augusto.pizarra plus one. So you can repeat all of your information, there is no problem. But we know that we have a different user. And in this case, it will be a yes. So you have both ways. If you want to
Yeah, but
go,
you're two users on the system, though. You need to remember that. Like anyone who's
yeah,
doing that, now it could be rare enough. Like, but I mean, it is there. A lot of fellas would drive to customers with their private vehicle to show off their nice car, and they would do a lot of the work in the vans and other days. So it covers both. But you've got your two different users, and in any case, the revenue require a separate report for subsistence and a separate report for mileage on the revenue side. So you will have the one of them giving you your subsistence and the other one giving you your mileage. So it's just a different. It's just two different settings you have then. Two different reg numbers. One reg where you will have no, you're not using your company van for. Oh, sorry, you're not using your private vehicle because you're using the company van. And the other one is yes because you are using your private vehicle, which would be the car. Happy
okay,
enough? Yeah.
excellent. Any questions other than Chris?
Now, one thing, Augusto, see that separate email, that how does that work? I mean, let's say the guy has he's one user and he wants to become two users. You set that up, is it? You just add the
Yes.
plus one from your side, is it?
I will set up and you will receive the same email that you received on your regular email. You will receive on this special email.
Right.
The emails will go into your same account. It's just that it's a little bit different here. There's a trick of putting plus one or plus two if you have three users, and we use the same email.
Is that also for employers who would have 6 or 7 employees and they want to run it through their system
Exactly.
rather than the employee's email? So they want to run it through their system where the employee can log in at plus one, plus two, plus three. Is that, am I correct in saying that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's even better. So it allows the employer to keep control of the emails where the information is being kept so the employee doesn't go amok with something that you don't know what's going on. Well, you would know anyway because you've access to the reports. Anyway, um, yeah, I'm happy enough, Augusta, if anyone, if you want
Yep.
to continue.
That's it. Um, Let me open for a few questions. Um, Anyone with questions?
Yeah, Augusto, I was speaking to you earlier. I was just letting you know that when I go onto the app, it just keeps freezing on me, like, so it's taking me ages to do out the reports, like,
Um, it could be the possibility of a slower phone. Sometimes it happens. Connection could get you a little bit difficulty on that. Or if you're doing a lot of volume, I would suggest to also use your home computer. For example, go at night on your home computer and on your broadband internet. It will have the speed that you just seen here on as we create the reports. Um, Connections are very fussy, so to speak. And we have tons of phones, and people using their phones sometimes can be a little bit difficult. The system will tell you sometimes when it's slower, when you actually have a slower connection. But if you see there's any issue, um, we can connect with you and see what's going on and immediately try to resolve for anything that you need.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
We can set up a time next week. This week I'm off, but next week we can set up a time to check, or we can send either Francesco or Angelo to go through with you and see and check it up this week. There's no problem too.
All right. Yeah, next week will be fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
perfect.
Okay.
Any other questions?
One thing there, Augusta, just to remind people, some people have van drivers which are going to multiple locations. I remember you mentioned that a while ago, where you go to the base, a van driver might have the same route every day. So, I mean, in that case, you could very quickly click in all the locations. But if a fella's driving for 50 places, like, I would suggest a route location that, once the route location is mapped, you could just put the route one being 10 different places in the same day. I think the revenue would be happy enough with that, like,
Okay.
yeah. And all these van drivers who do daily deliveries, including salespeople, etc., including fellas who would maybe report in a garage in the morning and drive out and service vehicles or do things out, they'll all get it. Like, they'll get the subsistence as long as they're 8 kilometers away. So if they go to the first site and it's only 3 or 4 kilometers away, they won't get it, which is already in the app. But once they go 8 kilometers, so once you're 8 kilometers away and you come back within the radius and you're going to the next location, as long as the location is more than 8 kilometers away, you still get it. But if you return to your base in between a job, you won't get it. So it's important that anybody that is looking for subsistence, that when they leave the base, they travel their 8 kilometers out to wherever they're getting it, that they can travel through town maybe and get it to 8 kilometers on the other side, they're fine. But if they return to base, they'll be their subsistence will be stopped at that point and recommenced again. No, you still get it, but you've less time out there, like. It's just a small point, doesn't really affect the app as such. I just something that I just said I state there, like.
Okay.
Okay,
Excellent point, Chris. Thank
okay,
you.
thanks also.
Excellent. If you don't have questions now, that's fine. At any time, you can connect with support. You go to the need help in here. We have all of the information in here for help at any time you need. You come here, you see all of the videos available for every single information you need in your report, or you can also contact directly here. And as you click, we'll be contacting you directly through this chat at any time during normal working hours. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so
okay,
much. Appreciate your time. We went a little bit above the 1 hour mark, but it was important to cover all of the topics. We really appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us and we'll be able to help you as soon as we can. Okay?
okay,
Thank you so
perfect.
Yeah.
much.
Thanks, Emil.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
thanks, thanks,
Cheers.
Augusto.
Bye.
Cheers.